The following episode of the Cabernet Chronicles is rated TVMA-LSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. Viewer discretion is advised. Additionally, this episode discusses sensitive topics, including the tragic deaths of children and graphic details of a family massacre. Some listeners may find this content distressing. Please proceed with caution.
Hello, and welcome to Cabernet Chronicles. I am Aimee Lynn.
And I'm Donny.
Yes, and this is a podcast where I hold him hostage and tell him the stories that I want to tell him, and he has to sit here until I'm done with it. Ha ha.
I'm the peanut gallery.
So today we are going to talk about a pretty famous family annihilation murders.
Family annihilation. This is
Yes.
just somebody coming in and mowing everybody down?
Yeah. So a family annihilator is usually the dad murdering all of his
Jesus.
kids and his wife and
He's
stuff.
just like, I can't take it anymore.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's what a family annihilator is someone who does that. So this is a pretty fucked up one because it's a family annihilator, and it happened on Christmas Day.
Glad I got vodka for this one.
Yes,
Jesus.
yes, this one's gonna be a little intense.
Sweet baby Jesus.
All right, so I'm gonna tell you the story about the Lawson family murders. So July 25th, 1929 is when it happened. And let me set the scene. Charles Davies Lawson, 43 years old, and his wife, Franny, who is 37. They got married in 1911 and had a total of 8 children.
What's the math on that? What age was that for them?
So
He was what, 40 something?
he was 43.
And
She was 37. And they died in 1929. And they got married in 1911.
Yeah, okay, that's reasonable. Well, you know, back in the day, people were like marrying off kids at like 17. Or
Yeah.
whatever. It's like,
Yeah. Well, so they had their first child, Arthur, who was 19. So when she was 18 and he was, 22.
okay,
Right?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So they had a total of 8 children. There's Arthur, 19.
Well, there's the reason right there.
Oh my God.
Slow it down, buddy.
This is the time, though, when everyone had that many kids because
there is a back door. Sorry.
This is a time, though, when you had a bunch of kids because a lot of them would die young because of all the polio and
Dysentery.
they didn't have vaccines and shit yet.
Well, they needed kids to work on the farm.
And you also needed kids to work on a farm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All
So they
right.
had 8 kids. So the first one, Arthur, 19, when all this happened. Marie, 17. William was the third born, but he actually died 9 years before of illness. And then they had Carrie, who was 12, Maybelle, 7, James, 4, Raymond, 2, and baby Mary Lou at 4 months.
That's a hell of a range of names.
Yes. Yes, there is. So in 1918, after Charles's younger brothers, Marion and Elijah, moved to Germantown, North Carolina, Charles followed.
Do we need to start over? Sorry.
For what? Why?
I went a little off the rails there for a second.
I know. We're just going to keep going, though. If you look like a piece of shit, then you look like a piece of shit.
There's plenty of comedy.
Maverick, you stop that. Hey! Now that the cat is out of the curtain. Hi, baby boy.
Thought it was out of the bag.
Yeah, right? Meow. Hi. I'm getting distracted by the pussies. I am. That's true. All right.
Happens to the best of us.
For sure. All right. So in 1918, after Charles's younger brothers, Marion and Elijah, moved to Germantown, North Carolina, Charles followed. And he worked as a tenant tobacco farmer and was able to save enough money to buy his own farm in 1927 on Brook Cove Road.
I'm assuming that's something of significance.
That they have their own...
The road.
Yes, because it becomes a tourist attraction. Spoiler alert. So in the days leading up to the murders, Charles actually took the family on a shopping spree and took family portraits, which was very unusual at the time. So it made a lot of people think that it was definitely premeditated. And so do you want to see the family portrait, though?
Is it before or after?
So here's the family portrait. And...
Dear God, which is the far left?
The far left is Arthur, and then Marie, the dad Charles, and Franny holding Mary Lou. There's Raymond and Maybelle, James, and then Carrie. So if you want to keep a hold of that, you can. That's fine. But that's just the family photo that they ended up taking, which, again, was unusual because a lot of people couldn't afford that kind of stuff, especially a shopping spree as well. So it made people think that it's definitely was premeditated. Christmas morning, 1929, started like any other. Marie made Christmas cake with raisins. And Arthur was going to go rabbit hunting, and he didn't have enough shells. And he actually went and asked Charles, his dad, if he had any shotgun shells. And Charles, the dad, said, "No, I don't. You need to just go to the store and go get more." So he sends Arthur to the store, and then he obviously lied because he then uses the shotgun to start his rampage. Ooh. And now what he does is...
Was it the raisins in the cake? I mean, some son of a bitch ruined this cake.
So apparently raisins were like people really liked them back then. I don't know. It was 1929.
I guess.
You know? Jet's back there saying she likes raisins.
You heathen.
I know. Well, having raisins on it is important for later and not for a motive. It's just a fun fact for later that we'll come back to. Okay? All right. So, early afternoon, Carrie and Maybelle, Carrie's 12 and Maybelle's 7, they set out on a walk to their aunt and uncle's house. So their aunt and uncle live in the farm next door. But it's rural area, so it's still like a good space between all the different farms. So they set out for that, and Lawson, so Charles Lawson, waited by the tobacco barn and then shot them with the 12-gauge shotgun and then bludgeoned them to make sure they were dead.
Jesus.
Then he put their bodies in the tobacco barn.
And people are just not going to notice a family of 8 has gone missing?
Well, we haven't got there yet.
Oh, sorry.
We're going through this stage of events.
Gotcha.
You keep going because you just went, wait, did no one notice a family of 8 went missing? And you haven't even let me get to the third fucking murder yet.
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm just thinking like the logic here. Like, how did this guy not have enough foresight? He saved up all of his money, bought a farm. That's some planning.
Mm-hmm. It is.
No foresight into just ditching 8 people.
And then 2 days later, 2 years later is when he took the family to go get that photo. He also took them on a shopping spree. And then he murdered them all.
Well, it's going to be really hard for me to take you on a shopping spree and not have some sort of paranoia.
I know, right? This is actually very true now. I'm going to be like on my guard at all times now. So he has already murdered Carrie and Maybelle, as well as his wife, Franny. And he shoots her on the porch. And Marie, it is said that she screamed and people heard her scream. And that's when people started coming by. Because, like, people shooting, they could have been hunting, they could have been whatever. So people didn't come by until
Not uncommon back then.
yeah, until they heard the scream.
Some of these bloody
And then
murders.
he shot her, and James and Raymond, they tried to hide. And he went and found them
Ooh,
and shot both of them and then bludgeoned them as well.
Jesus.
And then lastly, he bludgeoned the baby, Mary Lou.
Oh boy, that's next level. Like,
Yeah. It's fucked up.
yeah.
Very fucked up. And so after the murders, Charles went into the nearby woods. And the scream that they had heard made it so his brother, who lived in the next, came home, as well as Arthur, the son that he had sent to go get more bullets. He came home around the same time. And the bodies were found with their arms crossed and rocks underneath their heads.
Pillows?
Yeah, he like put rocks as pillows under their heads and their arms crossed, so he posed them as well. And then as everyone was looking, like, because also back then they didn't like cordon off crime scenes. They just like let anyone walk through crime
show
scenes.
up and start wandering around.
Yeah, and the people just start wandering around and everything. And so as many people are there, they hear the shot that Charles does to commit suicide. And it's heard by a lot of people, and it was Arthur and his son Arthur and a police officer that found him in the woods. And they found that he had been circling a tree because like there's a circle in the snow around a tree. So it showed that he was like contemplating like what to do next or like pacing. And they found 3 letters with him. One that was titled to his brother. And it basically talked about having the family be back with William. So his son that had died back when he was younger, and to take care of the farm to his brother. So it really showed that he like planned this. Now, remember when I was like, so many people were already in the crime scene and everything like that. If you think people like true crime now, people liked it then too.
They were just on the scene wandering around.
Yeah. Not just that, but Marion Lawson, his brother, Charles Lawson's brother, opened the house as a tourist attraction. So people would go in, like he didn't clean it, blood everywhere. And remember that cake with all the raisins on it? People would take the raisins off of the cake to the point where they had to, as like souvenirs.
Oh my God.
To the point where they had to put it underneath a glass.
Why would you want a souvenir from a murder scene?
Right? Why would you want a souvenir from a murder scene? Right?
Psychopaths.
Yeah, so when people are like, it's weird that people like true crime so much now. It's like, oh, people were even worse then, and they liked true crime in a worse way than they do now. It's like,
It's one thing to listen to a podcast. It's a whole other thing to go to the scene and be like, we're just gonna take a little.
I'm just gonna take a raisin. Oh, there's the blood. Cool. Like, yeah, that's how they treated it.
Yikes.
But imagine, like, your sibling dies and like murders his entire family other than his one son Arthur, and then you open his house up as a tourist attraction.
That's whack.
Like
well, I mean, shit runs in the family apparently.
yeah, it's pretty crazy. So that's pretty gross on the whole thing. But then what I find is even ickier and grosser is that they buried the entire family together, including their murderer. So like Charles is in the same exact plot as the 7 people he killed, his wife and children.
Yikes.
All in the same plot. Yeah. So it's like super gross in that way. And Arthur, the son, of course, he lived and he had a lot of survivor's guilt. Like, why did my dad
trauma involved?
Yeah.
There?
Why did my dad save me? Because his dad is the one who sent him to go get
shells.
more shells, so he
He's
wouldn't
like,
be there.
I'm going to need more.
No, he wasn't buying them for. He wasn't having him go get him for him. Like, so one of the theories with that is like Charles was a 19-year-old man, so he would have been harder to like murder than the others.
Yeah.
But it also is thought, he had he saved Arthur because he was old enough to. Arthur's the one on the all the way to the left. Because he was old enough to live on his own and everything. Yeah, and inherit. So it's crazy like that. And Arthur lived, but unfortunately he did die in a car accident in 1945. He left probably he left behind a wife and 4 kids. So he did end up having a life for a little bit after.
Good God.
But there are many theories on the motive of what caused Charles to annihilate his whole family. And one of them was that he had a head injury. Many of his family said that he had a head injury that like months before. However, an autopsy by Johns Hopkins hospital found nothing wrong with his brain. Like, because so having traumatic head injuries are actually a thing that can change. That can change your personality, and it can also make you more violent. And many serial killers have had traumatic brain injuries.
I was gonna say, I thought you had said that stat at some point in time where you had like the TBI is like
TBIs are very
common amongst
crazy
like
shit. Serial killers and stuff. However,
this guy just did all of his serial killing in like 3 days.
Yeah. Well, no, not 3 days, 1 day.
Oh, 1 day. It's all one day.
It's all one day.
It's all the same day.
It's all the same day. It's all within the same hour.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like he got the 2 little girls that were walking
to
their uncle's house. Yes. And then he came to the house and did everyone there.
Oof.
Yeah.
Brutal.
So they found nothing with that. However, a more sinister motive has come to light. So it was rumored that Marie was pregnant with Charles's baby. So Marie is his 17-year-old daughter.
Oh.
And according to the book White Christmas, Bloody Christmas, this rumor started not long after the murders, but then they were able to interview people and found more evidence for it.
Mm-hmm.
So a girl named Stella Lawson, she is a relative of Charles and Franny Lawson. She actually overheard Franny's sister-in-law and aunts, including Stella's mother, Jetty Lawson, discussing how Franny had confided in them and was concerned about the, quote, incestuous relationship. And this is thought of being as pretty credible because Jetty Lawson actually died in 1928, so a year before the murders happened, which means that Franny was suspicious and knew beforehand, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And more evidence is that a close friend of Marie's came forward. Her name was Aimee, and she came forward and she disclosed how weeks before Christmas in 1929, Marie had confided in her that she was pregnant by her father and that her father and her mother knew. So it is thought that...
all in the family.
Yeah. So it's thought that he did the massacre in order to keep his sexual deviance and molestation of his daughter a secret.
Well, that's one way to go about it, I guess.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And another neighbor came forward and said that he knew of many serious problems in the house, but he didn't ever elaborate more on it. But again, there was the Lawson Museum that was open, and it was literally just their house, their crime scene of a house, open for 4 years after that, and then it was closed down.
Yeah, good God. Oof.
Yeah.
Come see my murder scene based on incest.
Yeah,
Wow.
yes. So that is the horrible, horrible story of the
And what was the phrase again? The
family annihilator.
family annihilator.
Yeah, a family annihilator is someone who murders their whole family.
Ooh.
Yeah. And there's a whole subsection of like perpetrator that does that because like they say him putting rocks under their head and then like crossing their arms and posing them was like a way of trying to like it's one of the ways that they know that someone
Some
knows
sort of
the
coping
victim really
mechanism.
well. Yeah. Is like it's kind of like a feel sorry, oopsies, my bad.
Yeah.
Like
Oops.
sometimes they'll cover up
Remorse.
their kids and stuff like that too, or try to make it look like they're comfortable sleeping.
God, I don't know how a baby though.
I know.
That's
I know
like-
that was one of the worst parts. I tried to go really fast through it.
God.
So that is the story of the horrible Lawson family massacre done at the hands of Charles Lawson, a family annihilator. Thank you for joining us at Cabernet Chronicles. Please like and subscribe. We will see you another time. Bye.
Bye.